It was in December of 1994, and I was, of course, a sergeant, and the pregnant women worked. They didn't work in the motor pool, so they sent us up to the headquarters. I worked for the first sergeant and the commander, and I did typed up all their paperwork, their memos, everything. Well, this one Sergeant Taylor, he was like, so close to getting out, he could walk under a door and not hit his head. And he comes to me and he says, "Oh, Sergeant Noor," he says, "you got to type up this letter. I need this memo, because I need to meet with the battalion commander at 9 o'clock today." And I'm like, "Why do you bring this to me the day it's due?" And he's like, "Well, I just got so much stuff going on, and his son was suspended from school because he cheated on a test. His kid was always in trouble. He left it there, and I said, okay, I get to it, and I stuck it underneath some more because I had other stuff to do prior to his stuff. And I said, well, I'll get it done, but I'm going to do it on my time. So he's standing behind me, and he's like leaning over to me as I'm typing, and he goes, "Oh, you misspelled a word." I said, "Will you get out from behind me?" I said, "I don't stand behind you when you're doing your janky job that you don't do anyways. You get everybody else to do it." And he goes, "Well, you don't have to be a smart." And I says, "Well, I am because I can be, and I'm 40 weeks pregnant, and I'm here to work for the first sergeant and the commander, not for you. Now, if you want this done by 9 o'clock, it's going to cost you $50. And he goes, "I ain't paying you nothing." And I says, "Well, then I pulled it from the top and I put it back underneath the bottom. You might have to show up there with no memo." And he backhanded me. He took his hand and he whacked me in the back of the head. "You stupid piece of..." And I was like, "What?" And I got up and I turned around and I punched him. And he hit the cement wall behind, and down he goes. I'm like, now mind you, I am the only one in this office. The commander and the first sergeant are in the battalion building waiting for him to show up. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And I said, well, I can't leave him lay here. So I dragged him into one of the back of the rooms, and I closed the door and let him lay there. So I typed up his memo, and it's sitting there on the outbox. So then the commander calls, and he's like, "Have you seen Sergeant Taylor?" And I said, "Sir, with all due respect, that man was here about an hour ago, got a call, he had to go to the school, his son got in trouble, and the memo's typed up, it's in the outbox for him to pick up. Well, when you see him, tell him he needs to get over here like yesterday." And I said, all right. So 9 o'clock goes, 10 o'clock goes, and I'm like, well, everybody's coming back at noon, I gotta do something here. So it was about 11 o'clock, I went and got a cup of cold, and the water was ice cold out of the water, what do you call it? It's like a water, press the button, and water comes out. So I take a cup and I went into the room, and he's laying on the floor. He's still knocked out. Because I checked to make sure that I didn't hit him. He hit that hard that he didn't have any blood. So he was just knocked out cold. So I took the water and I stayed in about a minute. What the hell are you doing? And he's, "Oh, I'm going to get your stripe, and I'm going to get you kicked out of the military. You're going to get a dishonorable discharge." And let me tell you something, Sergeant Taylor. I'm pregnant, and I'm a female. You're black, not pregnant, and yes, you're a sergeant, and you missed your appointment, but I'm going to tell you something. I says, you got one or two choices. You can tell on me and get me in trouble, or you can just let this slide underneath the door. And if you don't, go the nice way, like you hit me, if you do tell on me, I says, I'm going to turn around and slam you to the point that you'll be standing behind bars, and you'll be, you want to be fishing from your fishing boat after you retire? Well, you're going to be fishing through bars. And he goes, well, you can't prove it. I says, yes, I can. I can prove it. So you got the choice. But I'll tell you something right now. Get up and get yourself cleaned up, because they're coming back from the motor pool. He got up and he got himself clean, and I went back to doing my typing. Oh, he was in big trouble. I mean, he was standing in front of the first sergeant at attention and the commander, and they're like, you had an appointment and you missed it. And he was just coming up. I could hear him because I was kind of standing by the door and eavesdropping. He's like, well, he says, sir, he says, with all due respect, he says, my son was in trouble at school. And he just kind of stuck to that story. So anyways, Sergeant Taylor does not say anything to Sergeant Newer. And he's staying away from me. He's ignoring me. Usually he'll come in and crack jokes in the morning. Oh, you're still pregnant, and, stuff like that. He wasn't saying anything. And the first sergeant was like, what's up with Sergeant Taylor? He's not cracking jokes with you. I said, well, I don't know. So Sergeant Taylor leaves. Now it was 97. I got an inter-post transfer and ended up going to the hospital. Still in uniform. And I walk in the room and I'm like, oh my gosh, First Sergeant Truitt, how are you? I always liked the guy. I mean, he was just really nice to me. He says, I want the real deal now. I said, I can't tell you. I really can't. I said, because I don't want to get him in trouble. And he says, well, what happened? I says, well, and his wife was busting out laughing. She's like, you hit him? I says, oh, I cold clocked him. I worked right there and knocked him against the wall. I said, she goes, you knocked him out? I knocked him out cold. I said, please. I says, just leave this story between us. I said, because I forgave him and we went our merry way. He's like, well, he goes, you still can press charges. It hasn't been 10 years. And I'm like, it's not worth it. Really, it's not worth it. We'll leave it as is. And he goes, all right. He says, it's your call. I said, yep, it's my call. Because I'm white, female, not pregnant. The end.